Nataraja, Natana Sundara Nataraja, 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 Natana Sundara Nataraja, Shivaraja, Shivaraja, Shivakami Priya Shivaraja, 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 Chidambaresha Nataraja, Chidambaresha Nataraja, Partipurisha Shivaraja, Partipurisha Shivaraja, Nataraja, Nataraja, Natana Sundara Nataraja, 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 Shivaraja, Shivaraja, Shivakami Priya Shivaraja, 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 Chidambaresha Nataraja, Chidambaresha Nataraja, Partipurisha Shivaraja, Partipurisha Shivaraja, Nataraja, Nataraja, Natana Sundara Nataraja.
Very happy. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning to all of you. Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal. Namaste. Welcome to all of you who have joined us for this momentous celebration, momentous occasion this day. You know that this is something that we don't do very often. And today is we'll be celebrating, something that we have been doing for the past 2 months, of doing our degrees, and some of you, I know, have been decreeing all the way through. Some of you have been decreeing part of it, and some of you have, are in the process of learning how to decree. So all of you are welcome from the bottom of my heart. I'm very grateful that you have found some time to be together, for the next 2 hours or so. So we are waiting Lois Drake to join us. It's kind of early over there in California. Is it like it's like 5? It's like 3 a.m. or 3:30 a.m. Something like that. So I think she should be joining us. As we continue, as we begin. So I'm going to wait a little bit as more of our friends are joining us to welcome you personally. So I think let's begin. We have a kind of, I don't have a full agenda, so to speak. I want to say that today we want to really be a little bit more in a different kind of vibration. We want to put ourselves in different kind of vibration, so to speak. We have a more kind of absorb the light of what we have done, what Master wants to release to us, and we'll be offering those energies to the Masters, to brotherhood, great white brotherhood, and for the blessing of, not only ourselves, our families, but the whole planet in general. and we all know that we all need, the planet needs energy in this time. And particularly, this is the time of the end of the year, So masters have told us following, and they have told us that each year we can divide each year into 12 parts, 12 months, each like a quarters, 4 quarters. So this is the fourth quarter, October, November, December. So what masters have told us that the karma, our personal karma and our planetary karma, it descends in four through four uh, etheric, through four bodies of the ourself and four lord bodies of the planet. So first 3 months, January, February, March, it comes into the etheric quadrant. Then the next 3 months, April, May, June, it comes into the mental quadrant. Then the next 3 months, July, August, September, it comes into the emotional quadrant of our personal body and also planetary body. And then the last 4 months, which we are right now in October, November, December, the karma becomes very, very heavy, So that is why we are, I think, October, November, December, we are in that quadrant, the physical quadrant, we call it. The etheric quadrant, then we have a mental quadrant, then we have emotional quadrant, then we have a physical quadrant of our four lower bodies and the four lower bodies of the everyone on the planet, so to speak, and therefore we call it the four lower bodies of the planet, so to speak. So so we are very grateful. I want to thank you personally from my heart once again for being part of this journey together. For the last actually 3 months, we did some other work previously for the round one, round two, round three. We did that for 21 days each time, and then we began this journey of doing decrease for the 7 rays, or actually 8 rays. For the last 2 months or so to speak, 8 weeks. So anyway, uh, let's do what we have come to do today. So we're going to be basking in the light. We'll be asking more questions. If you have anything on your heart, maybe you can write it down for Lois Drake, has been former co-president of the Summit Lighthouse for 8 years, and so she has a wealth of knowledge, both on the spiritual side and also on the on the practical spirituality side. I also say that because she has been in the dual role of doing both things, side by side. So I think that is what we are. The main focus will be really to spend some time with Lois. So when she comes in there, I think I'll go over briefly with the what is the agenda for the day after we make the invocation, and then we'll begin our program. So Jay, my friend, let's have the invocation from our messenger, please.
O thou ancient of days, bestir our hearts, quicken thy sacred fire within us, purge us of the not-self, intensify white fire, divine love, the power of the blue flame of beloved Elmoria. Come forth, ascended masters, adepts of the East. Come forth, Lord of the world. Enter our hearts, transform us by the alchemy of the seventh ray. By thy sacred fire, penetrate, penetrate, penetrate unto the core of being. Satisfy our souls with the light of gladness. Let thy beauty descend as sparkling waterfall. Angel Devas, Elohim archangels, ascended masters, all life in God, come celebrate eternal life within our hearts. In the fullness of thy great cosmic mastery, O life, intensify, our well-being. Nurture our souls. Purge us of fear, darkness, and unknowing. O Lord of life, thou who dwellest in our temple, speak to us of love. Speak to us of the divine understanding. Speak to us of our entering in to the oneness of eternal being. Holy Kumara's great central sun magnet, purify and dispel. Distill, O God, the essence of our true reality. Let the fire consume unreality. Let us know true being indeed. Therefore we affirm the seed of the Buddha within us and the living God, the Atman. Therefore do we worship at this altar. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and the Divine Mother. In the name of the Lord of the world and the lineage of Sanat Kumara, we gather to serve in thy name. I am that I am.
Well, I'd like to welcome on behalf of our team, all of our friends, our family friends, if I can say that, all of you who have gathered. I welcome also Lois Drake, who is with us early in the morning from Los Angeles, California. So on behalf of all of us, welcome Lois, for rising early, and let's welcome all of us, all of you. And our who have joined us. So welcome, Raneji, welcome, Ashok, Mayarji, Akash Papliji, Pradeep Kumar, and Sunita ji, and Devina ji, welcome. Dr. Ranjit Singh ji, welcome. Vikram ji, welcome. Sukhi ji, welcome. Carmencita Dinio, welcome. Nice to have you. JP Saab, welcome. Pooja Tuli ji, welcome. Rita ji, welcome. Verma ji, welcome. Jasjeet ji, welcome. Pooja Nikhalia ji, welcome. This is allow me to say this correctly, your name. Red Marcia. I hope I pronounced it correctly. So welcome all of you who have joined us. I will be pausing again a little bit later to welcome as more of you will be joining us. So before we begin, I like to go a little bit. I like to little bit pass all the torch to Lois for a few minutes, and then I'll go over what we have the agenda for the day. So maybe Lois, if you would welcome. Nice to see you. Your what you call shining rising face early in the morning. So would you like to say a few words to our family group here from India?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And yes, it's early in the morning, but I had to laugh because my father, I'm here at my father's house and he's 99 years old and he just went to bed. So he's been busy concentrating, working on some documents that he was preparing for his income tax. And I'm very grateful that I could come and join all of you. It's a privilege to be able to meet together as a family across the world, and also a privilege to think about all the spiritual work that you have been doing over these days and weeks, and what a difference it makes for all of us, because you are filling planet Earth with light. So we're filling our own lives with light as well. And I want to thank Jaspal for his leadership, as well as the others on our team there. There are many of you involved, so I know I can't really name you all, but Poonam and Jay and Jasjeet and all the others who have really made friends with the Ascended Masters and given to them your hearts so that you could amplify their work here on earth. So I just want to thank you and commend you and see what we can do in this morning or this evening to multiply that light and really make it physical and tangible all around us. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you kindly, Lois. I'd like to remind everyone that this program is being recorded it's live actually on YouTube, and also we will be posting it on the Facebook. So if you like to keep your windows down, you're most welcome to do that. And so I think having said that, I'd like to go over a little bit over what we have on the agenda. So for the day, so you can actually be ready for it and be prepared for it as you move further. So as I mentioned earlier that we have been doing, some of us have been doing the whole 7-8 rays of decrease. Some of us have started, but for whatever reason we are not able to continue all the way, and some of us are new. So please feel very comfortable that we are not here looking at that way. We are looking at as a family, and we are all learning. And I often talk about myself. When I began this journey many years ago, I was like that too. I was kind of looking and pausing and questioning, and we all do that. So I think I'm gone through that process myself. I know that it is a process that our soul goes through evolutionary process, so to speak, spiritually evolutionary process, and we learn, and so the best thing we can do is to love each other and hold that immaculate concept for each other, which is being that positive concept for each other, that we will we will, as long as we are on the spiritual journey, because as I mentioned earlier, sometimes our personal karma and the karma of the planet, both, we are responsible for bearing both of them, and it's very heavy sometimes, and it makes us forget, makes us outdo our other things in life. So anyway, welcome. So what we have is that we'll be talking about what we did our journey for the last 8 weeks. So what we actually did, So I like to refresh our memory for all of us, and then having that, I think I like to. I found a video on YouTube, which Elizabeth Prophet, we call her Gruma, that she has given us on the 7 rays. But particularly, she talked about, very briefly, a couple of sentences. She talks about the major and the minor rays, and I think that's the main focus, because we did the eight rays, actually 7 rays, but the eighth ray is the eighth ray of integration of the 7 rays into our life. She talks about the major ray and minor ray and what is the role of that, why we came. Very briefly, she talks about that. So we send you a questionnaire, so, to fill out and find out what were your major ray and what was your minor ray. And so major ray is what we came here in the earth, and the minor ray is the supporting ray. Both of those rays, we are actually perfecting ourselves in this life. So that gives us kind of clue. So she talks about those Salmon Chauhans, briefly we can call to them whatever way we are on, or help us to propagate in our journey, make more spiritual progress. So that is about 5 minutes long. Then we have then I think we'll talk about I think Lois will. I like to give Lois more time, because she's very not with us very often, So I like Lois to talk about what her spiritual journey. She has been as I said before, she has been the co-president of the Samri Lot House for 8 years, and so what is the practical spirituality means, for the major ray and minor ray. What is her perspective on that, And then we have a meditation on the violet flame, because violet flame is one of the very important part of the Sunday message teachings. Actually, if I would like to summarize that in few words, maybe what are the 3 things that Sunday masters have taught us, that I did not I was looking for before I found the teachings, and I think you may want to agree with me. First of first most important thing was the knowledge of the I am that I am, knowledge of who I am as a God self. People used to tell me that God is in everyone. God is me and God is in everyone. But what I learned from this Sunday Master teaching that God is also in us as I am that I am meaning I am God in the making, or I am God incarnate here and now. You can say that way more positively. So that was first thing I learned, that God is I am that I am, which is Am Brahmasmi, Om Tat Sat Om, which is on Hindu teachings, in all over the world. But I wasn't able to connect the dots, between God in me and God I am that I am is me. What is the meaning of that? And when you begin to realize, I'm sure you agree with me, when we all have begun to realize that God is I am that I am, we feel empowered by that thought. Am I really, am I really God in the making? So why I'm worried about this thing and that thing, and what is my solution to the all the problems? Why these problems come to me? So that was one thing I learned. Second thing I learned was the science of the spoken word. Science of the spoken word was something very, very important, because many times I heard, I learned, I read many books on spirituality that God is watching everything. You do not have to we do not have to actually and talk to God. We can just be calm and quiet and meditate and receive the light, and that is all right. Well, that is not quite all right. In what I found later on, there is a science behind it, a science of the spoken word. Science of the spoken word is how we were created. We are created, and we are creating things, good or bad, in this life, in this world, because we live in the world of form. You know, so God is both in the world of formless and form. Formless is spiritual, form is where we are. So, so that was another part was I learned that about the ascended master teaching. Second thing, the science of the spoken word is very important. Whatever we say, so masters have calculated that part with degrees. They have formed that degrees very beautifully with the preamble, with the body of degree, and with the closing, and those words in the degrees, in the preamble, in the body of the degree, and in the closing, are very mathematically, scientifically, spiritually calculated by the masters. They put it like pearls of wisdom. You say, well, if you put this word, what will that mean? And so that is from the mind of God. So one thing I would like to say here is that degrees are like mantras in the Vedas that we have. They came from the mouth of God, mind of God. So they are not really human. Someone who wrote poetry or say, oh, I'm going to call this, decree is a poem. It's my human creation. It's not that. It's like in Gurbani, in Sikhism, we have those, Guru Granth Sahib, we have those words they came from Guru Nanak Dev Ji and other gurus. They came directly from we call it Turdi Vani, came from heaven word. So these decrees are the word of the Vedas, like the pure word, very powerful word. We cannot underestimate them. Say, well, I did decrees, because they are like poetry. They help me sort of. So that is sometimes as we journey together, we meet like this, we discuss things like that. They help us to clarify our lot of these concepts, that we did not know that before. Third thing is violet flame. I think I'm mentioning three things that I promised you. I'll share with you. First thing is the, the, the knowledge of the Brahmasmi, I am that I am. Second thing is the knowledge of the science of the spoken word. Third thing is the knowledge of the violet flame. The knowledge of the violet flame is Agni. Agni we know in India, Agni is a fire. But we do not know the violet Agni, the violet fire, the violet flame, the intensity of the violet flame, the spirituality of the violet flame. What is violet flame means to us? So, when I heard this word violet flame, I said, well, what is violet flame? It's like a flame. But it's a cool flame. It's not a hot flame. So it's a spiritual flame. It's violet visualization, violet light, which is with embodied or embedded in every ascended master, every cosmic being, every person on the earth, every god, every deity, every god and goddesses have this violet flame. This knowledge was once known to mankind many years ago, the previous golden ages. Then it was withdrawn. Why it was withdrawn? Because some people misused it for their own selfish means. It's like going to Ganges and every year and taking a bath and saying, "Well, I'm clean now," coming back to the life world, doing the same thing again going to the Ganges and taking a bath. You kind of repetition of things, and maybe other things that were done. So it was that knowledge was withdrawn. However, that knowledge was kept with adepts, some people who knew that this repetition is not good, So they were that knowledge, they retained that knowledge. But now Saint Germain and the masters and beings of Sanat Kumara and all these great white brothers masters, they have brought this knowledge back to us, while the flame. So these are the three things I can say, that if somebody asks you what is a unique thing, I can say that the knowledge of the Sunday masters, you can say that one also, what is Sunday master, what is a great work brotherhood, but you can add many more things to that, knowledge of the elemental beings, you can add that one also. So there are many more things, but three things I think are the really which are more dominant that you want people to share with them. So having said that, uh, I just want to go over with you. Uh, let what are the 7 rays? What we did in 7 rays, and I wanted to give you a sort of background timing today. What we celebrated yesterday was Friday. Yesterday was at the Dashera. In India, the Dashera is a very, it's a festival, but has a meaning of the victory of good over evil, good values over evil values, good over bad, good people over bad, good habits over bad habits. However you want to say that, but we look at the story of Ram and Ravan. So today we are connecting with that, what we did during the 8 weeks, previous 8 weeks, and what the festival of Dussehra means to each one of us personally, in terms of what we have been doing for the past 7 or 8 weeks, and how that is connected to the victory of good over evil. So I think that is something that as on my heart, I like to share with you a little bit along those lines. So if you look at the 7 rays, each of the rays has a positive qualities and some negative qualities that we are trying to overcome. So you can say good qualities and not so good qualities that we. And I'm sure that when uh, when you have decreed already, we are celebrating that light, that is the victory in all of you. That's why you are here. That's why we are gathered here, and that's why we continue to do so. It's like a victory in one part of life, one part of our consciousness, and that it gives us momentum to keep on doing the next thing, next step. So the first ray was a we had 7 rays, by the way. First ray, the was a divine will, how to embody divine will, how to overcome, how to find a difference between the human will and the divine will. Human will and divine will, what's the difference? Because I had the same confusion when I started. I said, well, what I have is a God is me, so whatever I'm having is a divine. Why? What is a human will? How do I separate that? And that's a very good question, and I think some of you have asked me the question before. Human will is the will that, as long as we do not know the meaning of divine will, we kind of overlap. We trying to, our mind will like to overlap. Say, well, I'm doing it. Whatever I'm doing is really the will of God. It's a divine will. Not so. Our human will is really what our the habits, our momentum of previous lifetimes, doing things, and habitually what people have told us. So divine will is really being, now I'm bringing the first point of the knowledge of the I am that I am. When we are aligning with ourselves with I am that I am, and we have a decrease with I am that I am, even I am that I am, even Om is a mantra, very powerful mantra which aligns us from human will into divine will. And from human self into divine self. Maybe that's a better word to explain, better way to explain. So when we know that the name of the masters is Almoria, So we ask Almoria, what is the divine will for me? And we have decrees that he has given us 10.03. I am God's will. So these decrees help us to separate the two. It's like the human will from the divine will side, and we begin to feel that, oh yeah, I thought human will is not really divine will until we begin to separate that, until that happens a separation, until we begin to see, begin to feel actually, begin to understand that all these saints that have gone before in Sikhism, in Hinduism, they said, God's will, tera bana meetha lage, was in Punjabi we have, you know, I have come to do the will of God. So, so we begin to understand. So I think that is, I like to clarify that we begin to get more faith in us. We begin to get more feeling of protection from the masters. And those are the qualities of the first ray. Sacred ray, and as I mentioned, the master is Chauhan, is the ascended master Almoria. Sacred ray was the what we call is the will of wisdom, the mind, the wisdom of God. Wisdom. What is the wisdom of God? It's not intellectual. It's not human intellectualism. Human intellectualism. People have written books, and they can give big lectures. They can talk about it. All things. It may be okay, but what I'm saying is that human, there's a human logic and there's a divine logic. Logic is a reasoning, and that is where you can put the word wisdom in there. Logic is the how your vibration is another way to explain that. The wisdom, the second quality that you have all beginning to feel or have embodied already is the humility and the illumination. Prakash. Darkness is the darkness. We talked about the ignorance, darkness of ignorance. The people do not. People. So that was whenever the Kali Yuga happens, Kali Yuga in our personal life, Kali Yuga on the planet. That is, the Kali Yuga means the darkness age of ignorance. But people do not know who they really are, and they have another understanding of themselves, the human logic. So, oh, this is why it's happening. People go into psychicism, the prediction. Oh, so and so is saying this. So that is so that is something that you want to. So that is not really the human logic. It's psychic. Psychic energy is a human logic. You want to. So divine logic doesn't go to psychicism. It go from the mind of God that comes to you because I am that I am teaching of that. Third, and the second, the Chauhan of the second ray is Lord Lanto. You know that. And the third ray is the ray of love. First ray is the ray of power, blue. Second ray is the ray of wisdom that you have embodied. Third ray is the ray of love. That Paul the Venetian is a Chauhan that embodies that. And there's a human love versus divine love. You might be thinking, what is a human love? What is divine love? Human love is relative. Sometimes we hate, sometimes we love. Sometimes we are angry, sometimes we are apologetic. Sometimes we are this. Divine love is, unconditional love. Divine love is not relative. It's absolute. Absolute means, God loves us unconditionally. Like, look at that. How does Guru Nanak, how does Krishna, how does Shiva, how does Ganesh, and or Saraswati or Lakshmi ji or Count Kuan Yin or Mother Mary, how do they love me? How does any master that you can think? They love us from the absolute perspective. And those are our role models. Ascended masters are our role models, our gurus, our teachers. So that is a Paul the Venetian. Going to the fourth phase, the Ascended master is the Chauhan, is a Sarapas Bay. Oh, we talked about that. You did degrees on that. So I'm just giving a recap of that. So the degree, the quality that we embody from the Sarapas Bay is the quality of purity, purity of mind, purity of mind means thought, purity of feelings, which is love, purity of word that we speak, and purity in the action that we do. So those are the qualities that we love. And contrary, the human side is impurity. And then, so these degrees we take for each ray, So these were the fourth ray is the white color, so here is a white color of purity here that we did. But fifth ray is a master, is a Halarian. Halarian is master of the green ray. It's a green color. All of us who are meant to become energy healers, in the sense of the ascended masters teaching that we are embodying. So that is the ray of the science and healing, and that is the ray of. I would like to mention to you what you might be feeling. You might already have embodied this as you were decreeing that. So I want to say that again and again. You already have a taste of that. Maybe you have more than a taste of that. You've been doing that. Is the quality of the abundance in your life. When we have abundance in life, abundance doesn't mean necessarily money. Abundance of happiness, abundance of health, abundance of prosperity, of anything, everything. There's abundance, and that is the quality of the fifth ray, of the positive quality. Sixth ray is the Chauhan is the Lady Master Nada, NADL. We have to be decrease to her. She's the only Lady Master in this of the 7 Chauhans. The rest of the are the gentlemen. So she gives us the peace or emotional balance, which is in the solar plexus chakra. That is where most of the energies of the disturbance comes when, and she tells us how to master us, and you have felt that in your life, the peace and brotherhood and sisterhood and all those qualities, And the 7th ray is embodied by Ascended Master, represented by Ascended Master Chauhan, is the Saint Germain. Saint Germain, you know about Saint Germain. It's not enough that that we can talk about him. So he's the one who is the master of the next 1,000 years of career. He tells us about the virtues of the violet flame, which is mercy, forgiveness, kindness, alchemy, freedom. So these are the qualities that I like to say that these 7 Chauhans, our gurus, our brothers, you can say that our family members, please know that we have been with these Chauhans and the other Ascended Masters, which I did not mention, in the past lives many times. We have forgotten. They have not forgotten. So I wanted to say that all of you that you have been part of the journey and will continue on. I will talk about that. What is the next step we do before we finish our session today? What is the next thing we're going to be doing? And you will be excited to know that there's more. There's a 7th race. We did that. 5 secret rays that we'll be continuing our work on. So I think before I go to the next part, I think we have some more friends who have joined us. I like to welcome Vermaji. Welcome, Verma. Yeah, Vermaji, welcome. Let me see if I see any other name that our family members that I have missed. Let's see here. Shabia ji, welcome. Shabia ji, welcome. Satija ji, welcome. And I think, please forgive me if I miss any name. Just want to make sure that before we continue, that we have everyone on our family, together here. Okay, Jay. What we like to do is have a little bit 5-minute recap of what I just said by our messenger Guruma. She'll be talking about that. Please, now you'll be able to follow, because you have been doing decrees, and even not that, you will be able to follow that what she's saying in about those 7 Chauhans, but please pay attention to the major and minor ray that she talks about. A couple of sentences about that in the very beginning. So it's about a 5-minute long clip on the YouTube. Jay, can we have that, please?
The hierarch of the Age of Aquarius, because he is our great friend and teacher. What I'm about to tell you is said in greater detail in this book, Lords of the 7 Rays, which talks about the masters who teach us to walk a path of personal Christhood on each of the 7 rays. Remember, I told you that you and your twin flame made a decision in the great central sun as to what would be your calling and service. Today, you are serving on a particular ray, one of the 7. You may not know what that ray is, but if you read about the lives of the masters, you will discover what kind of people serve on those rays, and then you may identify yourself as being on one and understanding a very specific way and method of externalizing the Christ on that ray. For instance, El Moria on the first ray is the example for statesmen, people in government, in the economy, in law, in business, leaders in every field. The first ray is the ray of leadership, administration, management. Lord Lanto, serving on the second ray, is the sage. All those who are teachers, communicators, those who study and embody the wisdom of God in any field are serving to externalize their Christhood on that ray. Paul the Venetian is the third ray, the pink flame of divine love. He is the artist. Through art and culture, drama, theater, through many other ways, we expand love in our hearts. It is a very creative area. People are creative in all fields. You may not specifically be an artist, but you have creativity, and that is the way you express your Christhood. Serapis Bey on the fourth ray is the architect. That is the white ray. Those who love excellence and desire to perfect themselves in any area. Those who delight in bringing into form the perfection of the geometry of God. The white light is the light of the Divine Mother, and those who have devotion to the Divine Mother in any field serve on this ray. Hilarion is the healer. He was embodied as the Apostle Paul. If you think of Paul's mission of healing, Hilarion had a similar mission. This is the fifth ray, the green ray, and this is not only a ray of healing, of physicians, of healers, of nurses, doctors, and those who pursue alternative methods. It's also the ray, again corresponding to a chakra, this is the third eye, of music, science, harmony, vision. Wherever you are expanding those areas, you find yourself serving on that ray. Lady Master Nada is known as the judge. She was an outstanding attorney on Atlantis. In another lifetime, she had a healing temple, the defender of the poor and the oppressed. This is Jesus' ray, the sixth ray. It is purple and gold. And those who love to minister to life and serve life find themselves on this ray. It could be in any profession and calling, but you love to help people, and you're finding a way, perhaps in human services, to do just that. You could be a psychologist, you could be anyone from a waiter to someone at the top levels of industry. Then you have Saint Germain, who is the alchemist on the seventh ray, and he is the one who embodies freedom, divine justice, mercy, and the seventh ray is also a ray of science, the priesthood of Melchizedek, and so forth. Now, all of us have some development of each of those rays. So if you heard of yourself on all 7 rays and wondering where you belong, that is precisely the point. You do have development and achievement on all the rays, and what you will discover is the ray that really leads and is ahead, where you have the most development and the most ability. And you will find that your desire to serve God is best achieved by developing the skills, the disciplines, and the inner light and quality of that particular ray. It's like having a major in college. You also have a minor, and the minor might be the next ray on which you have the greatest excellence. So rather than telling you a little bit about each of these lords, I decided this evening to tell you a lot about one. And so the one I chose to speak to you about is our beloved Saint Germain, so that we can appreciate his position in America and in the planet today, and just how crucial the hour is.
Okay. So that was kind of a recap of everything that we have wanted to refresh our memory, what we wanted to know. And you can actually watch this video again on YouTube. Go to Summit Lighthouse, put the word Summit Lighthouse, and you will see. This video is called 7 Rays of God. So when you go to when you go to YouTube, you can either put the 7 Rays of God or go to Summit Lighthouse and look for the video called 7 Rays of God. So before you go to the next part, I'd like to welcome Anita ji and Cynthia Cruz. Welcome, welcome, Cynthia ji and Anita ji. And now I'd like to pass the torch to Lois to have her whatever she likes to add to or anything on her heart that we like to hear about what we have in general, but also particularly about the 7 Rays or anything that that she likes to share with us. All yours, Lois, please.
Thank you. Well, we are grateful to learn something about the 7 rays of God. I'd like to pause for a moment and let us each just take a deep breath, perhaps close our eyes for a minute, and think about that center of our being, the heart chakra. You can see in the center of your heart, the secret chamber, that spark of God, the light that is God within you, made of those beautiful pink, blue, and gold, 3 plumes, pink of love, gold of wisdom, blue of power, God's love, wisdom, and power. And see those beautiful flames dancing on top of a white light of the Divine Mother. And there is your very own presence of God in your heart. And then you can see the beautiful crystal cord, the light of God, coming down from your higher self, coming down through your crown, through your third eye, through your throat, into your heart, and then being sent out throughout your body, through the rest of your chakras, the solar plexus, the seat of the soul, and the base of the spine. But all coming from that great distributor of the heart. And there we find our divine love. And when you are ready, open your eyes. And we think a little bit about how we were created, how that spark came into our hearts. So we know in the beginning was the Word, in the beginning was God. And God desired out of love to multiply. So God, who we can think about as the masculine, the feminine, the alpha, the omega, multiplied and created sparks. And those sparks became us. Those sparks of God traveled through the body of God, just as we have called the light into our hearts from our mighty I Am presence and sent it into our chakras. So God, who is light, created us as sparks and sent us as these sparks through her body to gather all the light that we would need to fulfill our missions and to return home to God. Not to lose our identity, but to become identified with God. So as we traveled through the great body of God, as these beautiful spirit sparks, we gathered everything that we would need to fulfill our mission. And as you meditate, traveling through the body of God and gathering all that you would need, it may come to you, what is your major aspect of God that you bring to earth? Some of us traveled through the body of God and we gathered great amounts of blue, sapphire blue around us. And we realize as we now come into our embodiment, that blue is helping us to achieve the will of God, the power of God, leadership, those qualities of mastery. And we see that we may have become people who are always the head of a committee, or guiding others, or finding the way to be the will of God in our lives. And some of us gathered a great amount of wisdom, or yellow, and we became those who are the ones who teach others, learn from others, communicate. And some of us gathered a great deal of love, the pink, the beautiful ruby of God. And we became those who are devoted and adoring and bring that into every aspect of our lives. And then, of course, we gathered all the other aspects of God, the aspects of God's light, to bring into our own world. Excuse me. So we have the people who became the architects, those who gathered a great amount of God's white light of discipline and of precision and building. Or perhaps we became healers. We gathered great amounts of God's green or emerald light. And we have learned to help others and to gather even abundance around us, the flow of nature, the green of God's world of healing. And some of us gathered a great amount of gold, purple and gold, the ray of God's helpfulness, ministration, serving others. Perhaps we raised families. Perhaps we offered our service so others could advance. And then, of course, many of us gathered the violet light of God so that we could express freedom and forgiveness and change, transmutation, and could help others with those rays of God. Something that really struck me when I found the teachings of the Ascended Masters was this contemplation, this meditation upon the threefold flame, the pink, yellow, and blue on the base of white. Now, I had worked for many years in the field of advertising, and I was very familiar with the printing process. And I saw that every color in the universe originated from pink, yellow, and blue. So I could see, my goodness, this is like someone giving the artist a palette with a lot of paint on it. So we have the opportunity to be artists. And God has given us all the paints that we could possibly need, from the pink, yellow, and blue. Because if we want green, well, we need to mix the yellow and the blue. If we want purple, we need to mix the blue and the pink. It's a good exercise and a lot of fun to experiment with some watercolors or some acrylics or oil paints, and relate it also to what you are doing with the prayers, the decrees, the science of the spoken word. These are like wonderful tubes of paint that we can use our creativity given to us by God to mix them and to send them out into the world. Mrs. Prophet says that our personalities are created by these 7 rays of God. Now that's something to think about. So as we journey through the body of God, our spirit sparks, and we gathered the light that we would need, and we gathered all the colors and all the attributes, all of the skills that we would need to fulfill our missions. We created a unique personality, a God personality, a unique personality of everything, a blending. For me, for example, I knew, even though I had never heard of the rays of God, I knew that I was meant to be a teacher. So when I was a child, I had a small blackboard kind of an easel, and I would line up my dolls and my toys, and I would teach them what I had learned at school. When I learned to read, I remember sitting there going through little book after book, or even before I could read, I was trying to read. So it became very clear to me when I found the teachings of the Ascended Masters that my major ray was the yellow flame of illumination. But we're a blending. As I've said, we go through and we become, our personality becomes a blending of these rays. And we have to learn more from each of the 7 rays, and we practice. And we find that there are some times in our lives when we're very busy on the healing ray, for example, when we're helping others or we're healing ourselves. Or there may be a time when we're very busy on the purple and gold and we're serving others. And yet these are all aspects that come to make up our total personality, our wholeness. So life is a constant flow. And even though we know that, I know, for example, that my major ray is the yellow ray of illumination, I find myself constantly weaving in and out among the violet and the blue and the pink and the white. And sometimes I don't think about them so often, but when we have an opportunity to consider these different aspects and what do I need to learn next? What do I need to work with next? Then we can focus on those attributes. And suddenly we find ourselves given a job. Maybe we have to take care of someone. Oh, I needed to learn more about purple and gold, about ministration and service. Or maybe we needed to head a committee. Aha, I see, I need to learn more about leadership. So we find that we are taking a little bit of this and a little bit of that. We're taking our major ray and our minor, and we bring it to our work. Now, the Ascended Masters and God, they work with us. They work with what we have. And so they must work with the things that we have achieved, the talents that we have accumulated from our mastery of different rays. So if we have the threefold flame in our hearts, pink, yellow, and blue, the masters can only work with us to the level of our balance of our plumes. So if we have, for instance, a lack of love and our pink plume is much smaller than our blue or our yellow, we have to raise up that pink. The masters cannot work with us. They have to stay at the lower level until we are able to raise up the one to become equal with the others. So they are constantly encouraging us to balance that threefold flame, to balance the love and wisdom and power so that we can go on to work on our major rays and our minor rays. The masters work with us on our major ray, but they also work with us on our minor rays. And we find that when we come into life and we find that we are needing more of this quality or that quality, the masters are giving us life lessons so that we can bring more of that ray, that aspect of God into our lives. And isn't it interesting? And then because we have free will, because we are sons and daughters of God, because we have God's spark in our heart, we have the privilege, the honor, and the capability to use God's light as you have been doing for 8 weeks, perhaps some of you more, some of you less. We have the opportunity, the capability to use God's light just as God would, and to call it forth, to bring it forth, and to send it into the world and to one another and to our families, into our personal situations. So these 7 rays are one of the most important things that we can understand in life, the 7 rays and the threefold flame in our hearts, which are part of the 7 rays. And we have the understanding then that it all comes back to the heart. If we want to find our major ray or find our minor ray and accelerate on any one of the rays, then we must come back to the heart. Now, it's very interesting that God has given us many, many tools to work with for these 7 rays. For example, he has given us precious gems. So if you're attracted to those beautiful jewelries, in the jewelry stores, or, having crystals in your home, or wearing jewelry, looking at it, there's a reason for that. The nature kingdom has created these wonderful gems to amplify those rays of God. So as these 8 weeks have gone by, perhaps you felt, 1 week, oh, I really love doing these green decrees. These are so magnificent. Well, maybe that's a clue. Either that's your major ray or something you need more of. And if it's something that you find fits in your life, you may want to look for the gem that goes with that ray and have it in your home or wear it. So you might want to pick an emerald, a green emerald, beautiful, or a piece of jade, beautiful green jade, and have that upon you to help amplify. And these gems are created by the nature kingdom, the beautiful elementals. They're created in the earth to actually be receptacles, receivers for the light of God, which is constantly pouring to the earth every moment of the day, 24/7. So gemstones are tools that you can use, and it gives us a wonderful reason for shopping for those beautiful crystals and enjoying them. The diamond for the white ray, the beautiful sapphire for the blue or an aquamarine. There are also, of course, the yellow topaz for the ray of wisdom. And the ruby is a difficult gem to wear. Why? Because intense ruby is a very intense love, and one must have the protection to wear that in balance. Otherwise, one can find himself or herself in a point of irritation or agitation, or even attracting the parts of people that need healing, which can be difficult in our lives. So we often wear something that's a softer pink than the intense ruby. But that is the gem, ruby, and the pink, what is it called? The pink topaz. These are all different forms of gems that can be tools for us to use in our lives. And then I mentioned the purple and gold. We can wear the amethyst. Amethyst is very good for the 7th ray, for the violet, as well as for the purple and gold. So that's one of the wonderful tools that God has given to us, a physical tool. Religion is another tool that God has given to us. The many faiths that people have around the world. You see the 7 rays of God shining through different religions that have been created, so people can learn perhaps the 1st ray or the 3rd ray or the 5th ray. And this is a study that one can take up to learn about the rays that we are intended to bring forth, even through our spiritual beliefs. And then, of course, we have the 7 days of the week. So each day of the week also focuses a ray of God. Today we've begun Saturday, the 7th ray. So this is the day when we have the special focus of God's light of violet on the earth. And we can, if we want, we can wear the color, we can give those decrees on this day, we can give the decrees every day. It doesn't have to be just on the Saturday, but we find that that is the day that God is focusing that color. We find that there are 7 days of the week. There are 7 great masters of each ray. There are 7 archangels. There are 7 chakras of the main chakras. So you find the pattern of God repeated and repeated as tools that we can use. how do we make this practical? How do we use these things in our life? I look at my own life and I see, as I mentioned, the story of being a child and teaching my dolls and my friends, whatever I thought I needed to teach them. So I recognized later in life that that was because my main ray was the Ray of Illumination. But as I found the teachings of the Ascended Masters, I found that this knowledge and this opportunity to work with these rays helped me in a very practical way. Did they solve every problem that ever came to my doorstep? No, they did not, because I do have my karma. I have the lessons that I need to learn, but they helped me. They helped me with it quite a lot to reduce the amount of pain, sorrow, drama, and to increase the level of mastery, accomplishment, the ability to tolerate things, let things go, to become certain qualities that I may not have had before. So these wonderful rays of God, we really can use them in every aspect of our lives. I remember there was a time in my life when I didn't have enough money to do what I needed to do. I had had a business. The business had not gone well. And in the end, I had a lot of debt. Then I found the teachings of the Ascended Masters, and I learned about the 7 rays of God. I learned that I could use the violet flame to transmute and change the problems that I had, even from the past, even from past lives. So I started to apply that violet flame, just like you would paint a dish or heal a crack in a dish, put the glue in there. So I used the violet flame on those past mistakes, on the records of those. I used the beautiful green ray to call for abundance and money and supply in my life. I used the blue ray to ask for God's protection, for the angels to create in my life the power that was needed. And by the grace of God, those debts, it took a long time, but those debts were repaid. And I was able to move on in my life, to have good relationships, and to have all the abundance that I needed, everything that I needed to go and do the things that I needed to do. So these rays, we truly can apply in very tangible ways in our personal lives. And then, of course, we look at the world. We look at our cities and at our nation. We look at all the things that are taking place. All right. Do we see that the world is now perfect because we've given these decrees to the 7 rays of God? Well, it's far from perfect. It's not perfect, but we're still here by the grace of God, and we're striving. We're trying to make our individual worlds better, and we're trying to make the whole world better, because we all want that. We all want to have a golden age, and it begins with each one of us. But none of us want to just leave when we have enlightenment. We want everybody to have enlightenment. We want the planet Earth to be a wonderful place that souls can come and be embodied and be safe and be raised up and be part of God's consciousness. We want it for everybody. So that's what we do. We continue to work with God, to work with those rays of God, and to send them forth so that everybody can feel an upliftment. And sometimes we read the news and we think, oh my goodness, this isn't doing anything. But someday we will see how close things have been and how much worse things could be if it had not been for one person here, one person there, uniting with God and using the gifts that He has given to us to send into the world to make changes. So I think that these teachings of the Ascended Masters and these teachings of the rainbow rays, they may seem new, but they're not really new. They're just given language that we can understand now in the 21st century. We could talk about them because our consciousness has advanced, and there are more of us, more people who have come to that level, who have said, it's time to find my brothers and sisters, and it's time to get back home to God. So we have the gift of God that is these decrees and this path in a language and in terminology that we can understand for today's world. But these are time-honored teachings. As you compare them to whatever spiritual beliefs you were raised with, you will find them echoed there. You find if you read any religion or study any religion through the mystical part of the heart, you will come back to the same truth. So these are nothing bizarre. They're just the wonder of God for moving forward and creating a higher and higher consciousness on our planet. So all these things, I hope, help with the understanding of the 7 rays of God and the minor rays and the tools that we can use and who we really are, and help us get back to our place in God's heart, where we will be so happy to greet one another and say, oh yes, I remember when we were on earth in the physical, and you were really on the pink ray and I was on the yellow ray and you were on the green ray, and etc. And we see each one of us in our true divine identity. So I think from that point, I'd like to continue on with the agenda, and I would like to see, Jaspal, if you are ready to, should we carry on with a special prayer for this work that we have done and the violet flame meditation? Are we ready for that?
Yeah, I was thinking if it's okay, if you're comfortable, we can do the violet flame meditation either now or after the prayer, however you feel comfortable. That was the next thing. Also, we have a song to Mighty Victory that we like to celebrate
Yes.
our victory together. So those are the 2 things on my mind. However you feel comfortable in putting them, in order, that's up to you.
Okay, very good. Well, let me explain this violet flame meditation. And following that, we'll have a prayer for the multiplication of the work that we have done. And then we'll sing the song to Mighty Victory. So this violet flame meditation with Guru Ma, with Elizabeth Clare Prophet, it's an old recording, so I know that the various files that I have of this recording, sometimes the sound is a little bit sketchy, but I hope that you will get the idea nonetheless. I believe it really gives an idea of how creative we can be with the rays of God. So somehow she was inspired in listening to the music that accompanies this meditation to just start chanting or asking for the violet flame in our lives. So it's not a specific decree, but you will recognize the parts of various decrees. And sometimes I find this is fun to do. Using this example, I'll put on some beautiful music and I'll try it myself, to call the violet flame, and maybe it rhymes or maybe it doesn't rhyme, but it doesn't matter. It's the love of my heart and the love of the light of God going forth. So we're going to have that meditation shortly, and I hope that you will enjoy it, and I think that you will. It also focuses on some of the amethyst and the crystals and the violet flame itself. We'll just give it a try. But I would also like to talk about the geometry of God and the multiplication of our decrees. You have given roughly 850 hours of decrees. And when we give decrees, they are multiplied by the number of people who have been giving them. They are squared by the number of people. So this is a wonderful gift that if one person is giving decrees, yes, they go out in the magnificent power of God. But if 2 people are giving them, then they're squared. So we have an idea. Sometime one of you can perhaps contemplate how many people have been giving these decrees together and multiply them by this 850 hours. And we'll see that it really comes out to a magnificent number of hours of saturating the earth. I just multiplied 850 times 850, and we have then 722,500 hours of decrees that have been given, just squared in that way. It's kind of like a crystal, isn't it? Where you have the same geometric form that keeps being multiplied and multiplied and multiplied until you have a larger and larger and larger crystal. So let us begin by, again, going into our hearts as I say a few words, and then we'll follow that by the violet flame meditation. The song to Mighty Victory is also a wonderful gift to us. Mighty Victory is a tremendous cosmic being. And I remember at that time that I described to you, when I did not have the money that I needed to even go to attend and learn more about the teachings of the Ascended Masters. And I stood at the altar one day realizing, who is going to control my life, God or my debt? And I recognized that I needed Mighty Victory to really help me overcome this sense that I had limitation, that I didn't have enough money. So I stood at the altar and I turned into the decrees, and I went to the blue section where we have those decrees of Mighty Victory. I'm just going to turn there right now and give you a sense of the mighty circle of victory. This was in the blue section of our decrees that many of you have experienced when those certain decrees were sent out to you. So this is a decree of power and protection, and it's called the Mighty Circle of Victory. And I stood and I gave that decree with the full force of my voice and my heart. And sure enough, I recognized, you do not have limitation. You can go. And I had enough money to be able to get to the next conference and to not go into further debt, but to have the victory in my life. So all these hours that you have spent giving your decrees, we will amplify by singing the song to Mighty Victory after the violet flame meditation. So now let's go into our heart. I'll say a prayer and then I'll ask for that violet flame meditation. Please take a deep breath again. See the threefold flame in your heart. See yourself surrounded in a beautiful globe or a sphere of white fire. Oh God, you are so magnificent. You have created us in your own heart. You have sent us forth to multiply, to become more of you, to expand throughout the universe. Mighty Victory, we call to you to amplify all the prayers that we have given and all that we will give. We pray that we might have that creativity with God to paint the world with the rainbow rays of God, to fill in the places where healing is needed, to fill in the places where structure is needed and discipline, to fill in the places where illumination is needed and love is needed, to fill in where the violet light can forgive and transmute, to fill the beautiful places where service and caring is needed. Let each one of the 7 rainbow rays of God now amplify in our chakras. Let the beautiful violet flame come forth to transmute all the errors on planet Earth, to consume the wars, to consume everything that would hinder people from becoming who they really are. Let the darkness and the shadows and the bad thoughts in our own lives and in the life of planet Earth be utterly dissolved by the power of the violet flame and the rainbow rays of God. Let us be an outpost of the divine. Let the darkness be swallowed up by the mighty river of light, which I am. We thank you, O God, and we ask that each person who is here or who hears this in the future or who is attending on inner levels might have that special blessing and the clearing of obstacles and the moving forward to find their union with God. We thank you and we accept it done according to God's holy will. Om. Amen. And let us now have the violet flame meditation with Mrs. Prophet.
Come, violet flame. Come, violet flame. Now blaze and blaze and blaze. Come, violet flame. Come, violet flame, to raise and raise and raise the earth and all thereon, the earth and all thereon, the earth and all thereon. Come, violet flame. Come, violet flame. Now raise and raise and raise. Come, violet flame, to blaze and blaze and blaze the plants and elemental creatures, the plants and elemental creatures, the plants and elemental creatures. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires, I am that I am, I am that I am, I am that I am. Light set me free, light set me free, light set me free. Light I am, light I am, light I am, I am, I am. Light command, light command, light command, command, command. Light demand, light demand, light demand, demand, demand. Light expand, light expand, light expand, expand, expand. Light I am, light I am, light I am, I am, I am. Light set me free, light set me free. I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires, I am that I am. I am that I am, I am that I am, I am that I am. Here and now I take my vow to be thyself. Oh, be thyself as God in me, I see thyself as God in me. A flame to keep, a flame to know, this is the life that I would know I am. That I am, oh God, I am that I am, I am that I am, I am that I am. Violet flame come forth, violet flame come forth. I command I am, I am. Seal me now in violet flame, Saint Germain, seal me now in violet flame. Fiery purple heart of Saint Germain, command all light free. Set the captives free, set the captives free, set the captives free. Now and for eternity, God, victory, faith, hope, and charity come forth. Threefold light within my heart, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, speak thy word, I would hear it. Oh, God, I am, God, I am, God, I am free. I am free, oh God. Come and be in me thyself, thyself in God, in love. I am thy life, thy truth, thy way. Lord of life, I would be the fullness of thyself in form and formlessness. Blaze thy violet flame through me, freedom flame, I would be, I would see to set the captives free. Set the captives free, O God, expand, expand throughout the earth, expand throughout the land, expand throughout the galaxies. Oh, blaze and sweep and burn, consume the cause and core, make darkness into light. Flame of Holy Spirit, enter now my temple. Sacred fire, burn and blaze. Sacred fire, burn and blaze. Consume the cause and core in every plane of being. Let darkness be all light. Let darkness be all light. Let darkness be all light. In the name of the Christ, in the name of the I am that I am, I call it forth, and I accept it done this hour in full power. I am that I am. I am that I am. Amen. 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 Om. 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 Light, I am free. Light, I am free. Light, I am free. Joy expand to every heart, joy expand. I am in every heart, the violet flame. I move in thee, I live in thee, I am free in thee, everywhere, now and for eternity. I am a violet flame, I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. It is done, it is finished, it is sealed, I am healed, it is done, it is finished, it is sealed, I am healed, I am whole, I am one, I am love. Alpha and Omega, Alpha and Omega.
And we call to you now, mighty victory, to let us realize and feel and know your presence with us in the victory of the light on planet Earth. And we thank you as we sing your song, God is my victory. Can we please have that now?
Yeah, can we have the wording of that, please, on the screen, please?
God is my victory, victory, victory. God is my victory, victory, victory. God is my victory, victory, victory. That cannot be denied, that cannot be denied, that cannot be denied. God is my victory, victory, victory. God is my victory, victory, victory. God is my victory, victory, victory. I know He's at my side, I know He's at my side. I know He's at my side. No one can stay His hand, no one can stay His hand. His presence takes command. I cannot know defeat, I cannot know defeat. His love makes me complete. God is my victory, victory, victory. God is my victory, victory, victory. God is my victory, to know the power of love that flows. God is my victory, victory, victory. God is my victory, victory, victory. The healing of all wrong, I rise on wings of song. God is my victory, 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 victory.
And we like to say always victory. So always victory, everyone. And Jaspal, I'll turn it over to you for the next section.
Thank you very much, Lois. This was very, don't know what's the right word to use, very enlightening or loving or illuminating or all those things and more. So thank you very much for this beautiful explanation that you gave about the rays and seven threefold flame and violet flame and everything else, you know. So very, 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 very grateful on behalf of all of us. We are coming to that point. I think I like to welcome before I go to the next point. We have Shrin Lewis and Gurmeet. We welcome. So we move on to the next segment. Is 8 o'clock. We have another half an hour left. So I'd like to really have the opportunity to give to people to ask their question, and as before, for the sake of time and more efficiency of how we do that, you can put your questions or comments in the chat box, chat rooms bottom, and you can also have your can raise your hand, you know, the flag in from the reaction portion. So actually either Jay or Poonam can look at that, and both of you can work together and ask the questions or comments. If you like your name to be mentioned, it's all right. If you do not like your name to be mentioned, you know, because it's being recorded, it's up to you. You can say that, please don't mention my name. You know, so we will not mention your name, who this comment is or question is from. So I think we have a half an hour or so. So like to have all of us benefit from asking any questions or comments or anything on your heart. So I'll pass the torch to both Jay and Poonam for the.
I will be doing the questions today. Poonam is not feeling that well. So anybody who has any question may raise their hand on the chat or may write the question in the chat room so that I can read it out and we can then have a discussion. Okay, so Sukhwinder Singh has raised his hand, so I'll unmute him.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. So my question is, shall we keep on doing the major and minor rays throughout our life, or shall we keep a mix of all the rays if we want?
Yes, the major ray is something that really is part of you, so that you came in with that major emphasis, and it does stay with you all your life throughout your embodiments. And then the minor ray are the rays that you come with some of them, but you're also acquiring them. So you learn new things, you ask for that light to come into your life, and it changes as you go through life because you have different situations that come up. We all need to have some mastery on all of the 7 rays in order to make our ascension to go home to God. So we are all studying on those rays and seeking to learn more and to bring more of them into our lives. Would you like to add to that, Jaspal?
Yes, I think you have said it, I think beautifully. I would say the same thing. I think sometimes we, I speak for myself, and when I learned about my major ray, which is a violet, by the way, and the minor ray, which was a different time. I did it twice. And so the major ray came same in both times, and minor ray one time came as a pink, and second time it came as white. You know, so I learned from that I have to keep my focus on all rays. I cannot look at major and minor rays, But those are kind of two pointers. I can use that word pointer. Major ray is a bigger pointer that this is a ray I have come on. I keep my focus on Vala flame that I have to really learn more about, as Guru Ma was saying in a lecture, that we have, when you go to college, we have a major and we have a minor, elective courses, and the other courses. So I think I will say that way, Sukiji. I think the best way to do is really to keep in a different compartment of mind, both the major ray and minor ray, and not also pay attention to the other rays equally. So I think it's a kind of a 7 rays of the causal bodies. It's a balance on that. And as you move forward in your journey, spiritual journey, in doing those degrees, you will be getting guidance from your higher self, your Holy Christ self, your Krishna consciousness, Guru Nanak consciousness, and what is really, where is the balance needed, what is it really, how you're making difference. So I think it's a step by step enlightenment from within, that you will receive with the communication with your higher self.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, the next question is from Mr. Akash Popli. I will first read his question and then I will unmute him. Is there a balance of our worldly responsibilities versus the God's spiritual work, or is there a time with we give importance to one over another, and when do we know it's the time to do that? I'll repeat the question. Is there a balance of our worldly responsibilities versus the God's spiritual work, or is there a time with we give importance to one over another, and when do we know it's time to do that?
What an excellent question. Thank you for that. The first thing that comes to mind are the words of the Ascended Master El Morya, who says that your practicality, no, I'm sorry, the words of El Morya are, your spirituality is measured by your practicality. Pretty simple, isn't it? Your spirituality is measured by your practicality. Why do I say that as an answer to this question about balance between the spiritual and the physical in your life? We have come into the realm of time and space. We have come into the material world. This is not the real world. The real world is where the greater part of us lives. So we only have this one portion of us, the threefold flame, the light of God that's coming down into us, but the vast majority of each one of us lives in the real world. That's the heaven world. Those are the other dimensions. That's the real world of God. So this unreality of the physical world is where we are learning our lessons and where we are balancing our karma. So El Morya gives us this simple saying: your spirituality, how spiritual you are, can be measured by how practical you are in the physical world. So that's a good way to test your balance. So if we're not being practical, if we're only being devoted, and we're just living in another, we're not taking any responsibility, we're not taking care of the things that we need to do, we're not helping others, we're not earning money, we're not doing what we need to do in life, we're just being devoted, we're just being spiritual. Well, we're missing something. We're missing something because El Morya says we have to be practical. So when we focus on the practicality of life, earning our living, helping others, raising our family, doing our jobs, we're being spiritual. So how do you know when to be one or the other? One thing that we can always do is we can blend the two. We can take the love of God in our hearts and put it into everything we do, whether it's washing the dishes, going for a run, working at the job that we have. We fill it with God's love. We wake up every morning and we say, God, I love you. I am light, glowing light, radiating light, intensified light. And I'm going to take that light and I'm going to use it for my job, doing accounting, or my work as a teacher, or my job as a taxi driver, whatever it is, we bring God into that job. And then there comes a time if we are earning money and we think, okay, I've got to earn more money. I have to earn more money. Well, there's nothing wrong with having more money and earning more money. But if that becomes our God, if that becomes the only thing we think about, then we have to wake up and say, oh, I'm out of balance. Now I need some devotion. So now I need to take a few days off, or maybe 1 day a week or 2 days a week. And I need to really pay attention to God and to my spiritual life and take time out, carve some time to do my prayers and my decrees, or to give some loving attention to my family. This is the balance of life. And this is how we have to, always stay disciplined to give our daily decrees so that we can stay in balance without getting too far one way or too far the other way. Jaspal?
Yeah, thank you, Lois. I just one comment is that practical spirituality also, to me, it also means that whatever decrees, whatever we have decrees that we are doing in spiritual realm, every day, how we are giving those decrees, with what kind of attitude, what kind of consciousness, and how we take that energy of that we have given the decrees when you go to work. How do we process that in our mental world, in our emotional world, in our physical world, with interacting with our people that at work. So I think that is another way to look at it, that light that we receive from the spiritual realm in morning, in the when we do our degrees, or we have received in the past, how we apply that in the practical life. And I can just say that as you said that, Lois, that the greatest way to do that I found in my life was that friendship with your Sunday master. I used to tell Saint Germain, the work is too difficult for me at work, at my job. I was not really the brightest person at my job, I can tell you that. And I said, but you got to help me, with whatever I'm doing at work. And I'll do your spiritual work. Try to apply that in my life. So tuning the consciousness with Saint Germain, with any master, you can pick up one or more master that you want to really say, you are my buddy, you're my friend. You're going to be with me, go to work when I go to work. You're going to help me everything, how to control my thoughts, how to control my feelings, how to control my action. And I think the master will keep their end of the bargain. That's all I could add. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Louis. Thanks. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Very good question. It's a question we all ask ourselves, no matter how far we are on the path. It's a question we have to ask ourselves every day. Am I staying in balance? Am I giving God the devotion that I need to give? Or am I getting caught up in the busyness of life?
Yeah, so, this question, I've been regularly practicing, and I must admit that when I stumble upon situations which I feel out of balance, where I really, I feel the heat of the lower bodies, or those dark energies. And that's when I question to myself that, do I need to separate myself from whether it is the situation to do with work, or an individual, or someone very close in the family and so forth, or whether it's finances, and or what is it that I must do, or should I continue to be on the path? And so this keeps coming in different shapes and sizes, and sometimes I really get down to my knees that, well, I really need to really rework on many things. So that's it's very helpful, but I definitely do not doubt the practice. I definitely do that, so that's been of great help. The practice of decrees, like sir said, sometimes the quality of decrees, it's so important. I feel, yeah, that's true. And I see all of these points to be work in progress, and to fine tune on them.
Very well said. Thank you for that. And I think every spiritual path, every master, that you meet, every person who's really devoted, they have this test all throughout their path. And the test is, are you going to give up? Are you in balance? Do you need more balance? And it comes constantly, so that as we go farther along and we raise our consciousness, I'm sure you all find this, the tests become more subtle. They become more difficult. You have to really maintain your discernment. As you said, Akash, you know, you like the decrees, you love the decrees, and that is a key. So if we can keep on steady on our practice, then we will not have as many things that can come to knock us off of our path, because they do become subtle. They could become something like, well, I don't really agree with this idea, so I'm going to do something else. Or I think that I'm not having enough enjoyment in my life. Everybody needs to have enjoyment, so I'm going to take more time off over here. Well, it is true. We all need balance. We all need enjoyment, and we all need the time when we're sitting in devotion. But as we go along, we find that the tests can become very tricky, so to speak. So we need the anchor. We need the anchor of the daily decrees and the studying of the teachings of the masters and of our, you know, the spiritual path that is very close to our hearts. We need to study, we need to pray, we need to decree, and we need to stay steady as best we can, and that will carry us home. And also having each other, having community, having times like this, people to talk to, people who are spiritual. They help us get through the difficult times with our families, our jobs, our doubts, anything that comes along. And I really pray for the success of everyone.
So
I
much.
like to add, Akash, to everyone also that I think in my life, and I think masters have said that when we become a keeper of the flame, which is another fraternity that is sponsored by Saint Germain. So if we become, when we are doing decrees is a beginner's path. We start doing decrease and we build momentum. Next step, you might be thinking, what's the next step? Next step is you become a keeper of the flame, and this is what is the beauty is part about becoming a keeper of the flame. That I have found that you can talk to any keeper of the flame. There are many of us in our group also. You know, that gets the master who's in charge of the fraternity is Saint Germain, by the way. You receive 33 lessons, but that's not what I'm talking about. You get a sponsor. Saint Germain sponsors you personally as when you become a keeper of the flame. What does that mean? You have someone, a friend in the heaven who says, I will help you. So and whatever who becomes a keeper of the flame, I will help you. I'll be standing by you. Like going to bank and saying, I need a loan, as bank says, well, bring me you don't have a good credit yet with us, or we don't have credit at all, find someone who has a good credit. Well, you go to Saint Germain, yes, he has good credit. So he's asking you to find someone with Saint Germain. And I'll tell you that. I mean, you can ask anyone and everyone in our group, and I can speak for myself. That is a win-win situation where you can you'll find that you'll get all the answers to your questions that you will come time to time, all the challenges that come at family, at work, in your personal life, all the kind of things. Somebody standing by you, over you, watching on your shoulders, saying, "Oh, okay, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that." So that is the other part. Decrease, maintain that thread of continuity or contact with your I am presence through which Saint Germain works. So those both things are important.
Thank you so much, sir. There is so much to learn, and these sessions really help, and especially the intricacies of day-to-day things like we have spoken now are really helpful. And at times it really is a good shake. It's a good shake to kind of get back on to ourselves and to self-assess and realize. So that's really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, sir. So that is it. Nobody else has given any questions.
Okay. Okay. Before I pass the torch to Lois for sealing, I'd like to make an announcement for what we will be doing from this point forward, starting with tomorrow. So this is going to be after, Lois makes invocation for sealing up the energies. What we will do is tomorrow we'll be starting the journey, spiritual journey on the 5 secret rays. We did it work on the 7 rays. So 7 plus 5, that makes it 12 lines of the clock. So we will be beginning it. Tomorrow we will begin our journey for the 5 sacred rays. So tomorrow I'll go over with the overall overview of these 5 sacred rays. What are they, and what the Buddhas who represent them, and what the poisons, that we need to, and what's the antidote to those poisons that Buddha, each of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas represent. They are called 5 Dhyani Buddhas, by the way, each one of them. What are their names, and their mantras, and their decrees. So tomorrow will be just overview of the whole thing. Then the following 5 weeks, we'll take one Buddha at a time. One Buddha at a time, and we'll be doing the decrease for, I think we discussed that, but we have a decrease from the 7 rays. Also, the one decree, we only have one decree from the secret rays, 0.03. We'll take that one also, but we'll also have one decree for each of the Dhyani Buddha. Mantra, you call it one decree, but mantra. And we'll be doing that for each of the next subsequent actually 5 weeks, and starting tomorrow we'll have another decrease that we're doing for the 5 Dhyani Buddhas is 0.03, and there's a matrix that we have will be posted on actually today, and that it is called it has a decrease, two decrees to the blue flame, 2 decrees to the violet flame, and 1 degree to the secret is 0.03. We have 5 degrees, but it has a matrix, that we can do that. I request all of you to please, when it's posted today, after this meeting, you can look at it. You can have a feeling. We'll be doing that. Hopefully, the week, not tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll go over the overview, but the week that begins with the Monday, starting Monday onward to the next Friday, you will have that decree to be doing those 5 decrees that I mentioned: 2 blue flame, 2 violet flame, and 1 0.03 mighty cosmos secret rays degrees. You will be doing that, take about half an hour, but it has a matrix that we always have a matrix. You can log in your hours, what you do, probably half an hour it takes. It shouldn't take more than half an hour. So you will love that to do that. So we will be doing decrees, in summary, 1 week starting Monday to Friday. So it will be 1 week, actually 5 days. So we can do those decrees for 5 days. Then you can log in there, and then subsequent 5 weeks we'll be doing that also. I'll be adding some more decrees for each subsequent week that you'll be doing that. You'll be logging in there. What you'll do is at the end of 6 weeks, this is sometime very important thing to know, that will bring us to the end of November, close to that, and end of next month, November. So we'll have the same kind of service, maybe offering the decrees of the secret rays to the masters, and so we are, what we'll do the month of December, I do not know yet, but we'll have something to do. But we want to finish this year 2021 as Chananda's prayer group, as with a mighty blow for the master, blow, Mr. Bang, or mighty ho ho ho, you call it, first for the master, So we want to offer those degrees also, through the whole year. We want to finish that way, so God can, masters can give us more dispensation, more light, more energy, more blessing for all of us. So that is something. Please look for the posting of the matrix for the 5 secret rays. The title is this. I just want to repeat that title, so you will be you like what is the title of this matrix. It's matrix of decrees for clearing the way for 5 secret rays. Clearing the way. So this week is clearing the way. And then we have begin that each ray we take one at a time, and then we deal with that particular poison of the 5 poison. The Buddhas have said that, and we'll be dealing with each of the 5 poison within ourselves and within the whole planet. So that is a very exciting thing to look forward to. So that is all. I think.
I see
no
that.
other question.
I see there is. I think that Vikram Singh Chugh has a question, and also Pooja Tuli wanted to know if we can share the violet flame meditation. So maybe you can.
We can put that in the group. the wallet for meditation so that they can access it. And I will unmute Mr. Vikram Singh Chuk so he can share his thoughts.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening and thank you so much. I think it was a very invigorating and very, very deep session. So really, really appreciate that from the core of my heart. Now, my question comes from a fact that sometimes, at least I have started feeling on my journey, that sometimes I want to go a little more deeper. Now, I just wish to go a little more, a little more deep. I want to go to the next level. Now, there's nothing which is forcing me, or there's no pressure as such. I mean, I have been doing a lot of modalities besides what is happening out here. But it just, these days, this point coming that I wish to go deeper, and I am able to do that also. Because when I go into a little more self-introspection, I sit in peace and I'm with myself. And then I'm able to make sure that I only am thinking at that moment about that particular part and nothing else. I am able to do that. But I just wanted to understand from you, from your experience, how can we, if we wish to go a little more deep, to touch that inner core and reach and try to reach that level. I'm not trying to define anything. I'm just trying to know a little more, is how can you do that? How can you embrace that self, embrace your own aura a little more deeper? Now, I can't define it on a scale. I mean, but I hope my question is clear to some level.
I believe your question is clear, and it's a very good, wonderful question, because it is the question of life. How do we go deeper? How do we get to the real self? There is so much that is overlaying, veiling our real self, including our psychology, our karma, our past experiences, all the things that we do that we wish we would not do, all of the bad habits, the things that we're not even aware of in our personalities. These are all aspects of our lower self that are clouding over the true self that we are. So how do we get through it all, and how do we go deeper? And it's an individual answer for every person, but the basics of how to get deeper are to study, apply what you've studied, what you've learned, and then to implore God, ask and ask and ask that you want to go deeper, and then have your times of meditation and devotion so that you can go deeper. But we have to be careful, because sometimes we think we're going deeper when it's really our ego that's saying, oh, I'm getting so deep now. The spiritual path is a very, very interesting one. So we always are trying to take away from ourselves the parts that are not real, the parts that are just egotistical, or the parts that are injured or wounded psychology from this lifetime or past lifetimes. So we study our psychology, we work on it, we study the teachings of the Ascended Masters, we look to them as examples, we take our time of prayer and devotion, and we try to take perhaps more time of prayer and devotion. And it's a continual process of taking away the things that we don't need anymore in our human self, and becoming more and more of the God self, and going deeper and deeper without getting so carried away that we get lost to the rest of the world. So it's a very good question and a very worthy motivation. And it's a process. It's a peeling away. The masters say it's peeling away the skins of the onion. And today you peel away one skin, tomorrow you get another one, and then you might even take a rest because you're busy doing something else. And then you go, oh, wait a minute, I've got to keep working on that onion. I have to go deeper. So you peel another skin, you get into a situation that you really try to understand, and pray and ask God, take me deeper. And we do get deeper. Jaspal?
Yeah, thank you, Lois. I just had a thought, it's a very good question, Vikramji. I think I have felt that myself, in myself, And I think I believe every master who have become a Sunday master, because every person who has become a Sunday master, having their journey also, have felt that way. I want to go, want to go deeper. I want to know, become God. I want to become more of God. I want to go. I want to feel. I want to become full. I want to feel the fullness of God. I am that I am. And how long? I think it was a mantra that one of the saint gave. How long, Lord, how long I have to wait for that moment, and and I think this is as Lois mentioned, I think the thing that I learned, I have to watch also is that patience is a word. Patience is a virtue of the five Dhyani Buddhas. We'll be talking about that. So patience is really, God tests us through patience, how much we want, because God wants us to be ready to have that quality of patience. And here is the reason I think why patience is so important, because anxiety sometimes takes over. Anxiety of I want to become God, and that anxiety is a negative quality, by the way. Anxiety is not really, it's opposite of patience, you can say that, So anxiety is a poison and patience is a virtue, So how do we transmute anxiety of surrendering to God? God, I am ready. I'll give you my all. Whenever you're ready to come to me, I will receive you. I'll wait. I'll wait. There's a song from Yogananda ji. I found I used to sing that. Uh, I'm waiting for you, Lord. When will thou come? Will thou come? Open the door of my heart. I'm waiting for you. So you were saying the same thing what you were saying. So I think you will find that because you have expressed that desire, and I think that is going to magnetize fullness of God at the right time, at the right place. This is the law. The call compels the answer. So desire is pure. It magnetizes the God Himself to you. That's all that's come to my mind.
Do we have time for another question, Just Paul? There's another one from Renee Singh here.
Yes, I think so. I think we have a time. If you have a time, I think, I think, yeah, please, yeah, go ahead, Renee.
She writes in the chat, Renee writes, may I ask why many times we cannot find the inner and outer balance, and yet at other moments we are calm, peaceful, and totally aligned. I feel we go backwards and forwards in our journey. Why does this happen? This is another wonderful question, and it happens to all of us, no matter how far along we are on the path, because we are always being tested. We're always receiving more initiation, which is a transfer of light. So God and the masters test us to see how much we have really learned and how much we have accomplished. And I feel that when we have that sense that we feel restless or we feel anxious, not anxious in the bad sense, but we feel that we want to, there's something we need to push on. We need something more. We need to find there's something that's making us feel that we need to solve something or get settled. The times when we cannot quite find inner peace or the inner balance, that is often because that is when Shiva, or the Holy Spirit, as we would say, is working within us to push us forward, to make us think, oh, I have to look at this part of myself so that I can get to the real part of myself. Perhaps we wake up with a dream that was disturbing, and we can ask the masters to help us understand that dream and work with it. Or perhaps we've realized that we have been irritated with people at work, or we haven't been on our best behavior. And so we find that once again, we don't have that inner balance because we're being pushed to let it go, to surrender it to the masters, to give up the parts of ourselves that we don't really need, and to seek the true, real self, who we are, which may be very different than who we think we are, our outer personality. So that back and forth is the push and pull of the inner spirit trying to help us to get higher. And it is a process of going up and then dipping down a bit and going up and dipping down a bit, because this is the journey. This is how we learn to let go. It's not so easy to let go of the parts of ourselves that we don't need anymore. It can be painful. Oh, you mean I'm not as pleasant as I thought I was? I maybe we have to really examine our personalities and see ourselves and see, wow, that was kind of a prideful thing that I said, or I didn't really need to make a sarcastic remark. These are all little things that help us understand that we need to get back to the inner who we really are. And it is a process. So as Jaspal just said, we must be patient. And also we cannot take ourselves too seriously. When we take ourselves so seriously and we think, oh, I'm not perfect yet. I'm not a great sage. I'm not the great yogi of the mountains. We are taking ourselves too seriously, and we have to lighten up a little bit and recognize that we're not meant to be perfect. That's not the goal of life. Perfection is not the goal of life. The goal of life is to strive to be excellent, to be a friend of the masters, to put on more of the ascended master qualities. But perfection is not a worthy goal. That's not what we're really looking for. And if we think that it is, then we probably have some more work to do. And then you find that as you are patient with yourself, patient with God and the masters, patient with the people around you, as Jaspalji just said, eventually we come to a place that is more peaceful. We come to a place where we say, I see I have some problems, but God, I'm giving them to you and I'm going to carry on. Jaspal?
Yeah, just one thought. Yeah, you said beautifully. Thank you. The human perfection is really versus divine perfection. You might be thinking, what is human perfection? Is what you said. It's not the goal. What is the divine perfection? Divine perfection is a love. Love is the only thing in the divine perfection that comes. Am I loving? Do I know the meaning of love? Am I divine as God loves, as my I am presence loves? And that again is absolute. Human perfection is human perfection is not person. But the love is the only divine perfection that we strive for. When we begin to manifest divine love, and that's the only perfection I understand from the master's teaching is that one has to strive for, and then that lift up everything else from the human, dispute everything else from the human side, and we are lifted up because of the divine love, understanding of divine love. So that's all I wanted to add.
Beautiful, Lois, and beautiful, sir. It's been such a joy and pleasure to listen to you. And perfection. I mean, thank you, Lois, for me to make me understand, because all my life I've sought perfection in all my work. I'm a writer, a poet, and also a motivational speaker, but I'm always unhappy with my work. I mean, I'm always looking for more. And a lot of for years and years, I couldn't publish my work because I would think, no, it's not good enough, has to be better. So, but like you said, we've got to, I mean, like Sir says, it's only love that's perfect. I mean, so we have to just understand that we don't have to strive for anything more, I guess, and just be living in surrender and kind of be happy with the way we are and whatever the masters have given to us. I mean, that's what I understood. Please, you could clarify it better if you feel I am still a little confused.
I think you said it very well. Many times we are raised in our lives by teachers and parents who push us toward perfection, or we get the idea that oh my goodness, if we made a mistake on our test, or if we didn't have good handwriting, or if we didn't finish our job just perfectly, our father or our mother said, no, you go back and do that again. You didn't do that. That wasn't good enough. You're bad. You know, or the teacher.
You're so right. Yes.
You get those big red marks on your paper.
Absolutely. In trying to make them happy, you just keep trying to scale your own self constantly, you know, and remain miserable, unhappy, and dissatisfied.
Yes. And so we have to come to understand that our soul is like a little child, and our higher self, our Krishna self, or our Christ self, our Buddha self, that is like the good parent. So the good parent doesn't give the soul red marks or say, you're not good enough, do that better, go back and do it again. But it gently teaches us, well, yes, this part of my book, I probably could work on it a little bit more, but it's not, but then I'm going to give it to you, God, and I'm just going to publish it because, you know, it's the best I could do at this time. And so we really have to learn to love our soul, to love our inner child, you could say, and to become the good parents. As we become the good parents to ourselves, surprise, we become good parents to others as well. And our higher self becomes the one who's sitting in our heart, not some part of us that's saying, well, that's not good enough, you better go back and do it again. Or that you're not worthy to be God. And this is a constant dialogue that we are not even aware of sometimes. And it may take years to retrain ourselves to be gentle and kind and loving to ourselves, to think how Krishna was raised, what his mother was like to him, and how he was treated, or how he would treat our souls, or how any other great deity, you know, would treat us. And that's how we want to be to ourselves. And the more we can do that, the more we become that higher self. That's a very good question.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You've kind of lifted this huge burden from my heart, this perfectionist craziness, you know. I've carried it through all my life. Even now, I am just coming up with a new program and I'm saying, oh my God, Renee, this is really not good enough. Should I do it? Should I wait another month to come out with it? And, you know, while I was debating it, here you are telling me that, okay, surrender it to God, do it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Praise God.
Yeah.
Okay, no more questions. Then I think we're ready for the sealing up.
Sorry to interrupt, but thanks to you, I'm here today because you told me that, Renee, this is going to be really worth it. And I canceled my trip to the farm and I said, no, I have to be here. And I'm so grateful. Gratitude.
I want to thank you, Raneji, you know, for your presence and listening to me. And we always, you know, love everyone, you know, the presence, because everyone's causal body is a light, body of light, adds something more to the overall release of light from the master. So thank you for your presence.
So honored, so honored.
Are you ready then, Jaspal, for the sealing of our session?
Yes, please. Please go ahead.
Thank you. All right, let us find our point of devotion and quiet again in our hearts with our God. In the name I am that I am, in the name of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, we call to you now, O beloved legions of the angels of the first ray of God's protection, to place magnificent blue protection, blue lightning around everyone who has attended and all those who attend in the future. And we ask for the sealing of this time together and the multiplication in our hearts of all that we have brought forth and all that we intend to bring forth, and that we may go with our paths lighted by the light of God that never fails. We thank you and we accept it done according to God's holy will. Om. Amen.
Thank you, Lois. Thank you, everyone, for being this part of this magnificent session of light. It's being recorded, and YouTube can listen to it again, and we'll be posting it on the Facebook also. So if you're on the Facebook, you can go to the Facebook and listen to it. So I'm sure you want to listen and re-listen and share with your friends also. You know, all of family members and friends and all those who will be asking you, about anything about the teachings that you mastered. So God bless you. Have a wonderful evening in India. I think Lois is getting early in the morning, and Jay is getting early in the morning for you, my friend, also. So namaskar and thank you and God bless you.
Thank
See
you,
you
sir.
next week.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Joyce.
guys.
Thank
Lois,
you
I
all.
am JP.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lois. Myself, JP.